Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Before we get into this episode, we would just like to remind you all that the topics openly discussed here are our personal opinions along with research made ahead of time. We simply want to educate and present viable facts that are suitable for everyone, and we are certain that we don't want this to be a representation of bias. If you still wish to take part in this episode, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to all of you. I hope you all are doing well and safe. Again, I'm Ali.
And I'm Josh, and welcome back to Oragon, your power to vote.
Let's not forget to mention our dear listeners, the Cornerstone students and ANCOP scholars tuning in right now. Hi everybody, sana naging
Hello.
masarap ulam niya today.
Oh yeah, speaking of ulam, Ali, have you eaten na ba?
Actually, I just had lunch a while ago. It was really good. What about you, Josh?
I've had lunch na rin and, washed the dishes. Just waiting for merienda.
That's fun. I love that. Anyway, so moving on, our subject for this part of the podcast will be about Philippine political ideologies. But before we get into it, what is Uragon?
Well, to put it simply, for the people that don't know yet, Oragon, your power to vote, is a project that advocates for voters' education. We aim to spread the message of fair and just voting to the youth who are about to vote in the election this year, May 9.
In our podcast series, we will be talking about the Philippine government and its political ideologies from the past until present. But before we start, Josh, I have riddles for you. Or sabihin na nating bugtong. I have two actually.
Well, kung di naman masyadong mahirap, then why not? Let's go.
Siguro kaya mo to. Personally, feeling ko na-mention na to sa amin dati sa Filipino. But anyway, isang prinsesa nakaupo sa tasa.
Isang prinsesa nakaupo sa tasa.
Yeah.
So, I remember in grade 2, this has to be like Kasoy. That's the answer.
Yes, exactly. Amazing. And I have one more since you answered that so fast. Hayaan na si Kaka, bubuka-buka ka.
Okay, this one's a classic. If your Lola hasn't told this to you when you were a kid, then I don't know. But this one's scissors.
Tama. Alright. Grabe. Nagising yata ako doon ng slight. Amazing. Hindi naman ako sumagot. Now that our minds are up and running and we're both a little energized, I think it's right that we start off with our first segment about the past political ideologies of the Philippines. If anything, the Philippines has been a wholly democratic country that started in 1946, Josh. It is only at the point where former President Ferdinand Marcos decided to change the tide of Philippine politics. He stayed in power from 1965 to 1986, towards the end of the Third Republic to the Fourth.
You're right, Ali. And you know what? Furthermore, the Marcos regime, it was eventful. And one of the most notable contributions of that time were the start of infrastructure projects around the country, the fixing of the Philippine education system, and agriculture. For agriculture, the Masagana 99 increased rice production among farmers around the Philippines and at the same time was able to enable rice exporting for the first time in 1968.
Very notable indeed. He was also able to fix up multiple public school buildings around the country. On top of that, his administration also established the Philippine Heart Center, the National Kidney Transplant Institute, and the Lung Center of the Philippines. These are one of the very notable works of him in administration.
Truly notable, and they're still important as they are today. And this also helped in bringing us closer to becoming a first world country status back in around the mid-1900s. From 1972 to 1986. He turned the democratic Philippines into a country under his dictatorship. During his dictatorship, he implemented martial law, where people were limited to what they could do. And one of the most notable things martial law was known for is the lack of freedom of speech, free press, and media censorship.
At first, martial law was seen as a tactic to, discipline the people in the country. But this, unfortunately, brought about multiple problems that made the Philippines plummet tremendously. These being the multiple tax evasion cases, smuggling, and corruption from the Marcos family themselves. These have surfaced, and these are now one of the biggest catalysts for the economic dip of the country. Corruption from the government officials under Marcos has also contributed to that, unfortunately. Because of that economic dip, unemployment rates and poverty rates are drastically rising, leaving the glory of what once was a powerful and prosperous country down to dust. Personally, yes, I think it's right that we mention all of the notable things that administration has done, because truly, especially the medical institutes like the Philippine Heart Center, National Kidney and Transplant Institute, so on and so forth, I think that truly helped the Philippines for the better, especially those who are seeking help for medical conditions. Don't you think so, Josh?
Of course, a lot of my family members go there, so it's really helpful.
Yeah, I think I could say the same for that too. But again, I think it's safe to say that each administration has its ups and its downs, and its highs and its lows, and the beauty and the ugly also. Much like in this case, again, the communist Philippines during Marcos's term, there were definitely a lot of ups and downs along the way. Not to mention, I think it's right to know that there are always two sides to a certain narrative and to a certain story. Don't you think so?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because in everything, whether it be good or bad, there's always something to learn from, and hopefully in the future we can patch these things up. Because it's also good now we still have a lot of the cool infrastructure and important, might I say, but we still have things like the taxes and a lot of the baon na utang for the Philippines, which is
Yeah,
kind of sucky.
I agree with you.
I think this is where we can correlate what our interviewee, Tito Chito, said about choosing the candidate you want to vote for, or what you should be looking for in a candidate. Because what struck me the most was when he told us to choose someone who represents you as a citizen, your ideologies, and your ideas on what could make the country a better place.
I absolutely agree with you. And looking back at what Tito Chito said about that, I think it really is right that we choose a candidate that upholds our ideals, our morals, and our ideas to make the country we live in a better place.
Yeah, and honestly, this is really relatable to us, especially in high school. We would vote for class presidents and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
We would vote for the people na parang would bring us to the right place as a class. Like, will it make us the best in intrams or in the batch competitions? It's just like that, but now it's on a bigger scale. We have to choose a candidate na can benefit us and what we think will lines up with our beliefs.
Yes. Very, very well said, Josh.
Yeah. Yun nga, Tito Chito really gave us a lot of moving answers that I think all of us could attest to.
There are thousands of candidates vying for at least 18,000 posts across the country, and there are at least 5 major candidates for the presidency. Bongbong Marcos Jr., the son of the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos, is leading local surveys here.
Dapat na po ay pagpatuloy ang ating kilusan hanggang tayo'y makatagumpay.
Analysts say he's been using social media to rewrite history for many years. Vice President Leni Robredo is leading the fight for the opposition. Before joining government, she was a human rights lawyer and a development worker. Her campaign theme, Radical Love, has garnered widespread support across the country. But her biggest challenge, how to fight the widespread disinformation attacks thrown against her.
Kaya, tara na, ipanalo na natin ito.
Senator Ping Lacson has the longest experience in government among all the candidates. He was chief of police and he was also senator for many years. But many question his human rights record and his support for the controversial anti-terror law. Mayor Isko Moreno's story is quintessentially Filipino. As a boy, he scavenged for food before becoming a popular actor.
We wish for better things for our people. Sana makaraos na tayo sa pandemyang ito. Yun ang pinaka-importante ngayon, yung buhay buhay at kabuhayan ng tao.
His performance as Manila mayor has inspired so many, and many see him as a formidable candidate. But many also question whether he is truly ready for the presidency. Renowned boxer Manny Pacquiao says God will pave the way for him to become president, just like in his boxing career.
Samahan ninyo ako dahil ang laban ni Manny Pacquiao hindi laban lang sa sarili ko, laban sa pamilya, kundi laban ng bawat Pilipino.
This election is no different. Patronage politics remain rooted in the country's electoral system. Most candidates are using money, popularity, and family connections to get elected.
Hey, Ali, you up?
Yo, what's up? I'm still awake.
Just making sure, kasi if not, then I think it's time to answer some more riddles para fair.
Na naman tayo, just because I gave you two a while ago and they were easy, they were technically a giveaway, doesn't mean you have to give me another set.
I have two easy ones naman rin, I think. You ready?
Yeah, sure. Fire away.
Okay, number 1. Hindi hayop, hindi tao, pumupulupot sa tiyan mo.
Yan. It's making it sound like it's some kind of serpent or some kind of thing that would eat your guts out. What the heck? But it's not.
It can squeeze your guts out.
It's not a thing. It could. It could. Is it like something you wear or something you use?
It's important to wear, yeah.
It's important to wear. Oh my gosh, is this like what? A belt, cinturon or something?
Ding, ding, ding. Correct. It is
Yes.
a belt. Number 2.
Amazing.
Bulaklak mo na ang dapat gawin bago mo ito kainin.
So, this is definitely food, right? Pagkain to.
You're on the right track.
Okay. Ano ba? What fruits, vegetables, or like crop like has a flower before it becomes food? Alam ko ampalaya has. Is this ampalaya?
Not that color. No.
No.
Think yellow.
Yellow. Ano pa? Ay, saging.
Correct.
Yes. I aced that. My goodness.
You did. Ang galing.
Thank you. Okay, nagising talaga ako dun ha. But now I think I'm ready to start with the next topic. What do you think?
You know what? I think it is time to start the next topic. And our next topic, we're going to be talking about the Philippines' current political ideology, which is democracy. So basically, for those that don't know, democracy in short is a political ideology which refers to the people or citizens of the country having the free will to choose and decide on who leads the country and a people-driven government.
That's correct, Josh. And because of those characteristics, the Philippines is a representative democracy. Therefore, it means that the people elect their officials to do the matters of the government on their behalf.
Yes, and some notable factors of a democratic government are freedom of speech and free press. If you compare it to martial law and the communist version of the Philippines, media censorship was prevalent and there wasn't really freedom of speech nor free press.
Because of that, opinions were not allowed to be explicitly relayed back then. But in a democracy, right now, what the Philippines is, everyone is entitled to their opinion and they could also directly share them to the public.
Syempre, and the reign of the democratic Philippines continued after Corazon Aquino was elected as president of the Philippines, the first female president of the country. Shout out.
Girl power. All right. I love how we have female presidents, Miss Cory Aquino or Miss GMA, female presidents. I think it just shows that women are also capable of leading, much like the
Girl
senators.
power.
Yeah, even VP Lenny, right? Our current vice president right now. And Senator Hontiveros and so many women in politics right now. So, also, if I may add, our current President Duterte's party, PDP Laban, is a democratic socialist party. And to give you a small background, socialism integrates some communist ideologies, but not entirely everything. Although this may mislead the public into thinking our president is a communist, but Duterte himself made it clear that he is not a communist.
Yeah, so this is where significance of voters' education comes in. Knowing what kind of government your country has is just as important as knowing what you want in a leader.
That is so, so true. Not to mention that the government system solely relies on the votes of the citizens, meaning that the hopes and the dreams of the people are in the hands of the government. In this case, are in the hands of the presidential candidates.
Tamang-tama yan. The presidential candidate that I'll be voting for has my hopes and dreams for the country right in their
Same.
capable hands. Sappy stuff aside, right? I remember Tito Chito talking about the voters doing their research on the candidates so they could make a justified decision on who to vote for.
Yeah, I think research in all things is important, whether that be for class, for thesis, for personal reasons, or even for traveling. A piece
Always.
of advice, right? Like a piece of advice that he gave us new voters is to not follow in with the elders, as mentioned in the first episode, and their biases. You should also choose for yourself, not to compare or to one up on others.
And to keep ourselves grounded, our vote isn't the right or definitive choice. Everyone's opinions, you, me, everyone around you, all our opinions are different, and their candidate may benefit them more than it could benefit you.
Yes, and to circle back on opinions, I think every opinion is valid, and should be validated. So, Josh, anyway, before we continue on with our very, very last segment, I have something for you. May bugtong na naman ako, pero isa lang.
Okay, kala ko merienda, pero sige, bugtong na lang. What is it?
Sorry. Sorry, wala eh. Anyway, isa ang pasukan, tatlo ang labasan.
Isa ang pasukan. Ito ang labasan. For some reason, first thing that came up to me is a bowling ball, but wala namang...
No, no, you can't even enter it. Dude, it's just your fingers that you're using, but it's not that.
Is it... It's a thing though, diba?
Yes, it's a
Not a
thing.
place?
It's a thing. It's not a place. Duh, it's not a place. What?
Gloves? Gloves, socks,
No,
Shirt.
no.
shirt.
Yes, shirt.
First try.
You guys heard it. First try daw. Anyways, Josh, I think that the discussion that we had today just gave me more and more reasons to vote.
Tama ka talaga. I can't wait for May 9. Kasi I think I found a lot more reasons to vote as well. Kasi, you can choose who you want to lead your country. But I have one question that the viewers should think about, or listeners.
Oh, what is this?
Well, Ali, the question is, why should they care about being involved? Why should they care na they get to choose someone? Like, is it but just a right, or is there more to it?
Huh. That is actually a really good question, partner. If anything, we are citizens rather of a democratic government where the voices and opinions of us are valid and need to be heard in order for the country to function properly and accordingly. Again, democracy is the political ideology which refers to the people and citizens of the country having the free will to choose and decide on who leads the country. And again, it's a people driven government. So free speech and free choice thrive. And, all of this comes from us, the citizens of that country.
You know what? You're right. And I think I get it a bit now. And, maad lang, I think that being involved changes the tides of change and the way the government works. Being involved in politics creates a line of discourse
Yeah.
between us, the people, and the government.
Exactly. Very well said. I think the people in general are part of the system. And, to enable this engagement, you as a citizen could start with being in the know. Again, with all of the access you have to the media, the internet, technology, it just makes it easier for us to research on what's been happening around us.
Tama yan. No matter what you use, you'll always be hearing and seeing things about the elections and the
Yeah,
presidential candidates.
exactly.
Open the TV, it's them. You might as well open TikTok, it's them. Twitter, Facebook, lahat na.
Yeah. The
And
TikTok, TikTok ads for the politicians. I think some
Yeah.
of them are very adorable. Don't you think so?
they're hilarious. And you know what? When you see all of this, you need to remember that you have to keep an open mind. And you have to listen to other people's thoughts and opinions as well.
Yes, I also think that participating in activities with causes that raise awareness on different topics and social issues that are in the loop Not to mention also engaging in healthy discourse with your peers and elders rather also help in being involved.
I agree with you, Ali. And we have to remember that there are certain problems, solutions, and circumstances that may vary from generation to generation. Gen Z to millennial, millennial to boomer, lahat na. But you know what? Healthy discourse is always the way to go.
Very, very well said. I think communication in all things is the most important thing ever. If you want to avoid a conflict or you want to avoid misinterpretation or, just communicating with your friends, family, teachers, peers, loved ones, significant others, so on and so forth. Communication is always the way to go. Don't you think so, Josh?
I agree. Communication is key. Understanding one another is key. Always like that.
Spot on. And once again, thank you to the UNCOP scholars and Cornerstone students for tuning into today's episode. We hope that you guys have picked up a lesson or two from today. Again, I am Ali.
And I'm Josh. Thank you again to the viewers, and you've been listening to Uragon, your power to vote. It has been fun. See you in the next one.
Bye, guys. Thank you.